Venez avec moi directement, Christophe. Est-ce que ça marche ou pas?
Oui, ça marche.
Okay. Good morning. Welcome to the SDG Finance Geneva Summit. My name is Sarah Bell. I know many of you, but I'm really happy to see some new faces, and I'm really looking forward to interacting with you. So welcome to this fourth edition of the event. This is going to be an exciting day of pitching session, panel conversation, workshop, and obviously networking. I know this is the main purpose of most of you. We have representative of the finance sector, development practitioners, top-notch entrepreneurs from developing countries, large companies, and academics. What I really feel this year is that together, because this is all about partnership, together we have the capacity to invent the future of finance. And we can really, by working together, contribute to the implementation of the Sustainable Development Goals. But while I'm going to invite the panelists of the opening ceremony, I'm going to give the floor to our host, Christophe Chevalier from Crédit Suisse.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Sarah, and good morning from my part as well. I'm Christophe Chevalier from Crédit Suisse. I'm responsible of the pension fund and corporate investors team here in Geneva and member of the regional management team of Crédit Suisse. And it is an honor and a pleasure for Crédit Suisse to welcome you here in the Forum of Geneva for this exciting day. Sustainable finance is a very important topic for us, as you may imagine, and just to illustrate that, just less than 2 weeks ago, we had an announcement which says that in order to complement our existing and broad offering of sustainable and impact investment options, Crédit Suisse Asset Management announced that they decided to constantly integrate ESG criteria into its key investment process for all traditional asset classes. The goal here for Crédit Suisse Asset Management is to expand its suite of ESG offering, and that represents an estimate 100 billion Swiss franc of asset under management by the end of 2020. So I think that shows the conviction that we have to be a partner of choice and to offer our clients the possibility to generate returns in a sustainable way. With that in mind, I look forward to an exciting day and wish you a very good exchange, discussion, and a productive day. Thank you very much.
Maria Luisa. Maria Luisa is our director from UNDP Geneva office. The floor is yours.
So, good morning. I'm really very pleased to welcome you all to this SDG Finance Summit Geneva. This is the fourth edition of the summit. In your presence here, I think, demonstrates the growing interest in contributing to attaining the Sustainable Development Goals. The purpose of this summit is to promote SDG-compatible investments that will enable the transition to a more just and a healthier world. And this is what the SDGs are all about. And what we are going to be doing throughout the day is exploring the opportunities, but also the challenges to move towards that path, and also to showcase through innovation and through the work of entrepreneurs in developing countries that doing good and doing well is really possible. It's possible not only in a philanthropic manner, but it's also possible in a business manner. And we also need to discuss how we can move further and how we can do much more of SDG-compatible finance, because there's more happening, and we're very glad of what we heard before, but much, much more needs to happen, both in terms of investments and also in terms of more effective governance mechanisms in the kinds of cooperations that are needed and interactions between the public and the private sector, both the global one and also the national ones, to strengthen our course in that direction. And we all have something to do. We are truly committed from our side in UNDP. We are working most with developing countries in developing integrated national financial strategies and contributing to enhancing national governance systems, but also working with you in different settings to really accelerate this transition. And you'll be hearing through the course of the day of some of our initiatives like the SDG Impact Initiative, where we are developing standards with many in the community to authenticate SDG-aligned investments. And also we will be hearing from the work of the Secretary General's Task Force on Digital Financing for the SDGs, which is exploring ways to catalyze and harness digitalization for the acceleration of financing for the SDGs. So I truly hope that this SDG Finance Geneva Summit will allow all of us to learn and exchange on how to increase SDG compatible finance and what else we need to do to step up the commitments and the game. So without further ado, I would like to invite Christopher Chevalier, Head of Impact Product at Crédit Suisse, to provide some introductory remarks. Please, Christophe.
Well, thank you very much. Well, actually, I'm not Christophe, I'm Guillaume Bonnel, but I'm a new, no worries, Christophe is here. I'm a new joiner at Crédit Suisse since a month. I'm part of a department called the Impact Advisory and Finance Team, led by Marissa Drew and directly reporting to the CEO of Crédit Suisse. I've been involved in the impact investing sector for the last over 10 years, actually a bit more than 10 years. So I've seen that sector evolved, going from really what was the margins to what it is today, not the mainstream yet, but we are in the right direction to make it mainstream, hopefully, in the coming months and years. As far as Crédit Suisse is concerned, you know that Crédit Suisse has always been a pioneer in the space of impact investing. They've created, well, co-founded actually, one of the leading asset managers in that space, Responsibility. It was back in 2002 already, so a lot more than 10 years. And since then, Crédit Suisse has kept innovating in the space with innovative products in the impact investing field in education, financial inclusion, nature conservation, and more recently, affordable housing and ocean protection. As the bank for entrepreneurs, we want to remain committed for development finance, for economic development, and to be a part of the success of those entrepreneurs, not only in developed markets, but also in developing and frontier countries. Geneva is this unique ecosystem where banks on one side of the road and international organizations on the other side are very close from each other and could speak. And I think by joining forces, we could all together make a huge difference and have a huge positive impact towards the Sustainable Development Goals. So I believe today is a good example of such a collaboration where finance and impact finally meet together and join forces for good. Yeah, maybe just a word also to say that Crédit Suisse has signed recently the IFC principle that most of you know, as well as the banking principle. And so we are going to remain very much committed to bring forward products, impact investing products, which have a tangible and credible impact on society and the environment. Thank you very much.
Now to invite Alexandre Epalle, General Director of Economic Development, Research and Innovation of the Republic and the Canton of Geneva, to provide introductory remarks. Please.
Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the Republic and State of Geneva, it is a great pleasure for me to welcome you and to make today a few opening remarks. First of all and foremost, let me please express my gratitude to Crédit Suisse for hosting this event and to the organizers, especially the Geneva Office for the United Nations Development Programme, who made this event a reality. I would say that as the former director of the Sustainable Development Office of Geneva, I'm particularly happy and emotional to see that sustainable development goals today, the challenges, are finally addressed collectively and constitute nowadays a real issue for the financial and investment sector. It is indeed essential to mobilize financial centers to accelerate this transition towards a sustainable economy, and we worked hard on this. I will tell you that later a bit. As we know, the 17th United Nations SDGs cannot be financed only by public funds. We have already mentioned the public-private partnership, and this is essential to this. We have to take together advantage of the opportunities associated with sustainability. However, the emerging knowledge of sustainable finance still needs to be developed and promoted, as today. And Geneva is unfortunately no exception in this regard, as one can notice having a look to the Global Green Finance Index, where Geneva is quite far from the top ranks. To achieve this aim, awareness is needed on the part of our financial institutions, obviously. Effectively, the shift to sustainable finance must come from within. To this end, since 2010, we have been supporting strongly Sustainable Finance Geneva, an active player in promoting sustainable finance here in Geneva and abroad. Geneva, thanks in particular to its internationally recognized knowledge of finance and the presence of numerous international organizations integrating this notion of sustainability, such as UNDP, has some remarkable assets enabling it to position itself as an important center for sustainable finance. Geneva can count as well with the technical and operational center of the United Nations for achieving the SDGs here in Geneva. That's a fantastic opportunity that we have. Thanks to this particular position, it is important to remind that Geneva was one of the first main microfinance places in the world, and that 1/3 of world's sustainable assets are managed from Switzerland. We did, in order to make Geneva a hub for sustainable finance, integrate an international dimension, which notably includes the hosting of the Secretariat of the International Network of Financial Centers for Sustainability that makes its General Assembly here in Geneva this very week. The purpose of this initiative, which brings together the largest financial markets in the world, is to create a network of discussion, sharing practice, good practice, and common principles fundamental to developing sustainability in finance. Geneva really wants to clearly position itself on the world map of sustainable finance. So, financing the SDGs is therefore critical, as it is shaping a sustainable and resilient financial system, not only for SMEs, but as well for entrepreneurs, because they are the ones that provide an innovative solution for these challenges. The State of Geneva is aware, long time aware, of the issues and opportunities associated with sustainable finance and sustainable economic growth, more largely, and intend to keep on working in that sense to create a most favorable place. As a government, we try to lead as an example. Geneva was a pioneer in Europe when it adopted in 2001 a law on public action about sustainable development. We as well published a guide in 2003, that's 16 years ago. We published a guide for SMEs to help them manage day-to-day in sustainable ways their enterprises. And we worked with this enterprise. For those who know Geneva and Geneva's enterprise, and projects like Carandache or Palexpo were pioneers in that sense, and we did work to implement some things with them. But Geneva was also lately the first Swiss canton to successfully issue green bonds for the financing of high-energy performance building. That was in 2017. This operation attracted numerous investors and made it possible to raise 620 million Swiss francs. Obviously, our current objective now is to renew this type of operation. So, I hope I could transmit the enthusiasm and the will of the Canton of Geneva for this central issue that concerns not only Geneva, not only Switzerland, but obviously the entire world. Let me now wish you fruitful exchanges during this SDG Finance Geneva Summit, and thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Alexander. Let me now invite Arancha Gonzalez, Executive Director of the International Trade Center, to take the floor.
Thank you very much, Maria Luisa, for this invitation. Geneva has a very specific role to play in this discussion because it is the home to a big finance community and it is home to a big United Nations community, both of which have not mingled very well in the past. And for me, this was an eye-opener when I came here and I discovered the premises that Crédit Suisse has across the road from the rather modest, not to say shabby, meeting facilities that we have on the other side of the road. I'm here basically because I do believe that this city can be the center, the world center for impact financing if it leverages very well these two specificities. We've heard about the evolution of impact finance here in particular in Geneva, in Switzerland. We've heard about the importance of the Sustainable Development Goals. I want to zoom in an area which is in desperate need of impact financing, which is small and medium enterprises. And they have a desperate need because they are, at the moment, both a problem and not enough of a solution. They are over 95, 96, 97% of businesses around the world. You know the figures, so I don't need to explain that to you. They are the employment generation for the youth in many countries. Thus, youth is 60, 70% of the population, and yet they are desperately in need of credit and capital. Not because the credit and capital doesn't exist, but because it is not flowing there where it matters. Now, it would make a lot of sense, in my view, to find mechanisms, ways, partnerships to drive this financing to what we call the base of the pyramid. For us in the International Trade Center, this is a matter of priority. Our work is to support small and medium enterprises internationalization, meaning trade, meaning investment, means competitiveness, means productivity, means better paid jobs, means better contribution to domestic growth, means a fast route to meet the Sustainable Development Goals. We know that 60% of the SDG targets would be fast-tracked. 60% of the SDG targets would be fast-tracked by a more competitive SMEs. We know that the extra amount of investment needed to do that is $1 trillion. And this is only 20% of the SME finance gap that the International Finance Corporation, IFC, has calculated to be $5 trillion. So I'm here to beg you to help, to work together to make sure we close this financing gap and fast-track 60% of the Sustainable Development Goals. Three suggestions that, in my view, would be helpful that we discuss together during the session. One is instruments, financial instruments, innovative financial instruments that can leverage public resources to attract private capital. We know that there is a lot of thinking out there. There are a number of instruments out there. But in my view, there's blending instruments that would encourage many of you to move to what you perceive today to be riskier areas. Number two, let's think of key performance indicators that are going to incentivize a little bit more of the impact, while at the same time promoting and preserving the profit ingredient. Number three, and this is maybe also an offer on our side, more intelligent partnerships where you can use a lot of the groundwork that institutions like the International Trade Center does to scope and prepare small and medium enterprises to be investable. Thank you very much. Very exciting for us to be part of this conversation. Thank you to UNDP for pushing this dialogue, to the city of Geneva for convening us here. And please, let's get to solutions the sooner rather than later would be the better. Thank you.
Thank you, Arancha. And I don't think we can conclude this introductory session without thanking absolutely everybody that has contributed to make the SDG Finance Summit 4th edition happen. And I think we need to start with the partners that partnered with us in this new initiative we are presenting this year, the Growth Stage Impact Ventures Initiative, and in particular EPFL, Orange, and SAP. We have co-created this new proposal where we're bringing entrepreneurs at the growth stage, and also to all the partners that have participated in the very rigorous selection process. First, those that has provided their pipelines, and then also that have provided their technical expertise in the selection process. And I'm talking about UN organizations, ITC, ILO, World Health Organization, UNCTAD, UNCDF, but also impact funds, NGOs, and foundations. We also want to thank Impact Hub, which again this year is coming up with their wealth of new entrepreneurs and presenting them their very good innovations for SDG through the session, and also those that have created the conditions for this fruitful exchange, and in particular the Swiss Development Corporation, Alpha Mundi, Symbiotics, Credit Suisse, Le Canton de Genève, IDEF, and Turkish Airlines. And I, of course, cannot end this thanking part without recognizing the work of the SDG Finance Geneva team. They, and particularly Sarah Bell, they have allowed us to be here and have put together the program that I really hope are going to keep us busy through the day. So thank you very much to all of you, and without further ado, the SDG Finance now starts. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Maria Luisa. Before I give the floor to Tim Rajiv, the moderator,